Did you know that a comma could save a life? Or the absence of one could make people think that you're a cannibal? Do keep watching. A comma you meet might just change your life. But first, if you haven't already, do subscribe to the English Nut right away. It's time to eat, children. Let's eat, grandpa. These sentences are not written by cannibals, but by people who don't know their commas. Add the missing commas and the cannibalism goes away. Now the sentences mean what they were intended to. A parent telling his or her children that it's mealtime, and a grandchild telling a grandfather to eat. Here's another example. We're going to learn to cut and paste, children. This teacher is scary. Or maybe he's just a crass teacher who doesn't know his punctuation. Here's the corrected sentence. We're going to learn to cut and paste, children. What a relief. He wasn't planning to chop up the kids and stick them back together with glue. He was telling the kids that he was going to show them how to cut and paste. Now let's look at the opposite sort of example, where the addition of an unnecessary comma distorts the meaning. It's raining, cats and dogs. With the comma, the sentence sounds like someone informing her pets that it's raining. Remove the comma and you get the right sentence. It's raining cats and dogs. Without the comma is an idiomatic way of saying that it's raining a lot. Another example of an incorrect comma is in this sentence. The panda eats, shoots and leaves. With the comma, it sounds as if the animal has his meal, fires a gun and exits. The intended meaning was that the animal's diet consists of bamboo shoots and leaves. But to convey that, you have to drop the comma. People often apply a scattershot technique with commas. They write a sentence or two and then they sprinkle them with commas, hoping that they land in the right places. Of course, at times, a mischievous student may deliberately put commas in wrong places. But before I tell you a funny story about that, let's define the comma. A comma is a punctuation mark that signals a pause between parts of a sentence or separates items on a list. But the trouble with this definition is that you don't always pause at a comma when speaking. So a slightly more complicated but accurate way of defining the comma would be to say that it is a divider in a sentence that sets off a word or a part of a sentence. Suitably vague? Simply put, a comma divides sentences into parts that belong together. Now I'll tell you the story of the wicked student. His teacher was annoyed with him, so she told him to write the following sentence on the blackboard. The teacher says the student is bad. The student went up to the blackboard and wrote, the teacher says the student is bad. By adding two commas, he turned the tables on his teacher. The boy may have been naughty, but he knew his commas. Here's another example of how a missing comma changes things. Most of the time, travelers worry about their luggage. What if you drop the comma? The sentence would read, most of the time travelers worry about their luggage. Without the comma between time and travelers, it would seem as if the sentence was about time travelers, people who get into a time machine to travel to the past or into the future. That would be fun. But it would be funny if people who had the technology to travel through time still had to worry about their luggage. My last example on the power of the comma is about how it once saved a life. The story is about a request that had come to Tsar Alexander III of Russia to pardon a prisoner. In those days, prisoners would be sent away to remote and frigid Siberia, where they often perished. Maria Fyodorovna the Tsarina saved the man's life by moving a comma in the judicial sentence written by the Tsar. The Tsar had written, pardon impossible, to be sent to Siberia. The man was set free after the Tsarina moved the comma to make the sentence read, pardon, impossible to be sent to Siberia. If you can think of an example of a misplaced or missing comma changing the meaning of a sentence, do write it below. I'm the English Nut. Bye for now. Like this content? Do subscribe. Like, comment, share, tag your friends. From one English Nut to another. Thank you.